The next thing looking at here, we're looking at the original intent of those who ratified our Constitution. What we're looking at here is the other forms of government. Our government is unique. What makes our government unique is the declaration of restriction. Capitalism, okay, when we went to in the industrial age, we moved away from the land being what you needed to control the believing of the people. And again, that's the thing we're trying to control, or someone's trying to control, is the believing of the people. What you got is you need to control in the industrial age, okay, the means of production and the materials used in production. Okay, this is what you have to do. And by doing that, you can control then the believing of the people. That's what you're trying to do. You know, to control the believing of the people, you'd have to get at their hearts. Music's a good way, religion, but you got to get them all on the same page. But if you can affect where their food comes from, where their income comes from, where their ability to feed themselves, dress themselves, take care of themselves, protect themselves comes from, health wise, okay, money, all of these things, if you can control them, now you can use that to affect and control the believing. And this is what goes on. In capitalism, people muddy that and say, well, that's just free enterprise, buying it. No. There have been, since man started making villages, markets, places where people came and traded. Okay. And back then it was trading goods. I'll trade skins for fish. You can use the skins to make clothes, and I'll use the fish to eat. And we would trade in the market. Okay. And the markets were controlled in the village so that if you were our friend, you could come there. If you were enemy, maybe not. Or you might have to pay a tax if you weren't from the local community to trade in our market. These are the types of things that happen. Capitalism, the capital, okay, when you have a pillar, a stone pillar in a Roman building, okay, say going back to 53 BC or something like that. You have this huge pillar, and at the very top, you have a piece called a capital. It's a small piece by comparison to the rest of the pillar. And that piece transfers the weight from the roof or whatever you're holding with that pillar down to the pillar itself. This is capitalism. And capitalism is where you have a very small group of very powerful, very rich, okay, very influential people controlling the means of production and the materials used in production. That's capitalism. Buying and selling goes on. Everybody can buy and sell. You got something to trade. You go out and get yourself a deer. You could be the poorest guy in the county. You show up at the market with that deer. You can cut it up and sell the parts, sell the meat, sell the skin, sell whatever, and you're trading. Okay. In capitalism, there's a small group of very rich people that control those things. Socialism, which has come out since the Industrial Revolution, is the same thing. No difference. The definition or socialism is that it controls, the government controls directly, okay, the means of production and those materials, okay, used in production. They become under the control of government. Government has control. Now they can control the believing of the people. Communism is a philosophy. It works off of socialism, generally speaking. The Bolsheviks, when they took over in Russia, um, the Russian government had been an aristocracy with a czar, but basically it had the lords, the ladies, the same thing as the British, only different names. And they did a very poor job of taking care of their people. They had a bunch of rich people and a bunch of really poor people, and they weren't doing very much in terms of being successful. When the Bolsheviks took over, the word Bolshevik means majority. They went against a group called the Mensheviks, which means minority. And in irony, the Mensheviks wanted to have everybody involved. The Bolsheviks wanted to have a very small group. And that very small group ended up being the Communist Party. You had to be an elite. You had to be somebody who was dedicated, and it stayed small. Basically, the Communist Party replaced the aristocrats. You had the Politburo, you had a premier, you had other groups again that replaced some of these other lords and ladies and things that you had under the aristocrat form. But it's the same thing. Here's the new boss, just like the old boss. Hope we don't get fooled again. It was a line from the Who song. Well, it may have been worse. It may have been better. I wasn't there. Okay, I don't know how bad it was under the czars. No, it was pretty bad under the communists once they took over, according to all history. They just murdered a lot of people and really kept people afraid. But then on the other hand, czars might have been doing the same thing. What changes, and the only thing that changes this is, again, Christians in your society. Now, under the communists, they got rid of Christianity completely. If you were a Christian, for instance, I talked to a man who had met a man that lived in one of the communist countries in the 60s. And even at that time, if they caught you doing anything with Christianity, they would put you in an insane asylum, arrest you, put you in an insane asylum, and until you either changed or died. Wouldn't allow it. These are the forms of government. Every form of government comes back to this attempt in one way or another to control the manufacture, the means of manufacturing, and the materials to manufacture. And as we move into the technological ages, the same thing will happen. It'll be controlling these things that they'll be trying to do in government. Okay, I'm going to go into next our government, the government of the United States of America, why that was different. What did they do different, and why did that really, why does that work, or why could it work? Okay, so we'll come back to it. Hopefully this is helpful.